Hi guys, I'm Sabrina Dennis and today I'm talking about my past, a little bit of my past and relating to a picture that I posted on Thursday this week, which was a throwback that said I was once a dental nurse. I mean, I know, right? Who'd have thought? Me, Sabrina, a dental nurse. Yes, I was, and I actually enjoyed it while I did it. But the reason why I went into dental nursing wasn't necessarily because it was an ambition of mine. It was more out of necessity at the time. So I'm going to take you on like a whistle-stop tour of my journey into dental nursing and why I did it in the first place, because it's not what you might think. So here goes. So as you know, I'm a CEO now of First Class Foundation and senior consultant at Legacy Consultants. But before that, I was a project manager. I've dabbled in teaching. I've done a bit of home-based childcare. I've done a few things in my life, and dental nursing is another one of those things. Now, the reason I went into dental nursing is because we hit a very difficult period in our lives where we had no finances coming in. We both were unemployed. I just had a baby and it was a bit hard. Well, not a bit, it was extremely difficult. And so sometimes you're forced into doing things that you probably never would think to do. So I'm going to tell you why. So basically, First Class Foundation, as you know it, wasn't always First Class Foundation. It initially, in 2005, set up as First Class Youth Network. It was a network to make the voices of the young people the loudest voices in the community, to create first class young people. And we did that at the time of Nathan and a set of founders at the time, great friends, set up this organisation to help inner city young people get access to jobs and services, because there's loads of things happening but they weren't hitting our community. As not much has changed, but we're working on that. But anyway, but that was from 2005, and it was in the Labour days of lots of grant funding, lots of money was around, easy to come by. And then in 2010 the government changed hands and it became a Conservative government, and that meant that all of the funding access that we had before instantly dried up, and access to contracts with like councils and that certain government departments just shut down because it was a new government. So that meant new everything, new rules, new budgets for organisations, and that didn't include community cohesion and how to engage young people and stuff like that. So it made the organisation practically defunct. There was no reason for it. Like, we couldn't pay staff, we couldn't pay ourselves. We just bought a house, which was just like, the timing of everything was just crazy. So can you imagine, you just bought a house, there's lots of other catastrophic things that happened in that period. You know, I suffered a miscarriage, Nathan needed heart surgery, lots of things happened, and I can't tell you them all now because there isn't enough time. But I've listed some of this in my book, A Piece of the Pie, so please feel free to read some of it in there. But what happened was, we both had an income from the company. Well, he had an income from the company. I wasn't working because I was looking after the girls. But then I had got a job and it just wasn't working out. Like, how we run our home relies on me a lot of the time being there, but couldn't afford to stay at home now, had to find a job. And I applied for a trainee position at Birmingham Dental Hospital as a trainee dental nurse. Now, I applied when I was pregnant with my third daughter. I didn't think that I'd be successful because I have no experience. And I know it was a traineeship, but still, I had no experience in it. But I applied and I was heavily pregnant. And I went to they called me for interview, and I was like, oh my God, they've called me for interview. I filled in this application form like months ago, NHS website. And then they called me for interview, and I think I was like eight and a half months pregnant at the time we went to the interview. And the interview was interesting because it was like a tour of the hospital and the different departments, and then a face-to-face interview. And we was on a tour with other people, one of which is my really good friend now, actually. And we went through, and actually she just had a baby, so it was mad. It was just like really weird how we got there. But yeah, I went to this interview heavily pregnant, and they were like, oh, are you okay walking up and down the stairs? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. If I go into labour, it's fine. So I walked up and down the stairs, we did this interview, not realising that we were being judged on the actual tour as well, not just the interview face to face. So yeah, went to do that, and then got a few weeks later, got to say, yeah, you've been accepted onto the course. It's paid roles. You're going to train on the job in the dental hospital, working with students and practitioners, and you'll get paid, and you start on the 1st of August. At the time, Willow was due on the 12th, no, she was due on the 18th of May. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That gives me enough time. But even though at the time, going through that role and going through that interview, I was just thinking of the end result of we'll have an income. All I was thinking is we'll be able to support each other a bit more. It will mean that Nathan, who at the time was working for a charity, Bringing Hope, he was also doing night shifts in care homes. Like, people don't know this, you know. You see us now, you think, yeah, look at them two, shining, doing all these things. We've worked really hard to get to this point, like, and actually, gosh, listen to me, I feel like shouting a little bit, but I'm not. But we've worked really hard, and we've gone without. In that time, we had no car. Like, we had a car, then it broke, and it was so broke, they were like, don't even bother trying to fix this thing. You just have to go without a car. So imagine we've gone from having 2 children to 3 children. I had Willow. My brother brought me home from the hospital because we didn't have a safe car to drive her home in. I knew, I'm going backwards and forwards a bit, but try and keep up with me. I knew that for the job, I needed to find like my GCSE certificates and all these, you know, all your certificates of qualifications. And I went in the garage, and this was on the 14th of May. I'll never forget this. And I was looking for the certificates for the job because I thought, well, I've been accepted for this position. I need to give them everything before I go into labour. Because if I go into labour, I know it's going to happen. I'm just going to get like in labour, and then I'm going to forget, and then I'll probably miss the opportunity. So I went into the garage to find the stuff, and my waters broke while I was in the garage looking for the certificates. And do you know what I did? So naughty. Guys, don't do this. Carried on. I carried on looking for what I was looking for. I scanned and emailed everything. Meanwhile, I'm trickling. I can feel the trickle. And at the same time, I phoned the hospital and said, I think I've got a trickle of my waters. I phoned my mum. My mum said, right, let's go. And I said, I've got to send off this stuff first. Actually, at the time, the same day, Nathan was preparing for his interview with the Bringing Hope charity. So it was just like chaos. Like, can you imagine? You've gone for a job interview pregnant. You've got the job. You've got to send them all your stuff. You go into labour while you're doing that. And then you go into labour and your husband's got to go to a job interview. This is what happened. I kid you not. This is actually how it happened. And so there was like lots of little hurdles to get over to even get to the job. But we knew it was going to be good because it meant that we'd have to, you know, we could live a little bit better. It was very difficult. I don't know if you've ever lived off claiming job seekers allowance and you're a family and you have a mortgage, and those people in those places treat you really horribly. Like, I never went into a job centre, but Nathan went for me, and we were both registered together, and they were horrible to him. They treated him like he was dirt, and you know, if you get there 2 minutes late for the appointment, they talk about you've missed your appointment and you can't go, and they can't talk to you. And it's just horrible. Like, they treat you really bad. They forget that you're not a person that never worked. You've worked, you've done things in your life. You've come from owning a company or doing different things, but they treat you like horrible. You know, can't find a better word that's appropriate, but they treat you really badly in those places. So we just knew that any kind of job where he didn't have to keep going there and experiencing that would be better than anything, to be honest. It was just horrible. You know, in that period, we'd have bailiffs knocking the door, asking where's the payment of council tax. And I mean, we've been in some valleys, and dental nursing helped me to feel like I was contributing. But the sacrifice I had to make in doing that was that, you know how most people get 6 months at home with their child? I didn't. I gave birth in May, and on the 1st of August 2012, I stepped into the dental hospital, and Willow started nursery at 12 weeks old. And that, in hindsight, I think actually it was probably the best thing for her, because she's just that person that needs stimulation generally and just in life. Like, she's a very intelligent and active person. So it was probably the best environment for her. But at the time, it was incredibly difficult, and I was getting up at what time was I getting up? Like 5:30 to get up, get ready, make her bottles, and I'd jump on the bus. Remember, I have no car. Jumped on the bus with Willow and take Willow to nursery for 8 o'clock and get to, or to 7:45, and get to the dental hospital for 8 o'clock to start on clinic for 8:30. And when you get there, you've got to get changed. You don't go in your uniform, so you go there in your clothes. You've got to give yourself enough time to change. I used to bring my porridge made up on the bus, and I'd eat it on the bus on the way. She'd always be sleeping on the way, and then she'd get up, wake up, and I'd say bye to her at nursery. It was still dark, and I'd just kiss her goodbye and put her in the cot, and she'd fall back to sleep in nursery, and then they'd take care of her all day. And I had fantastic nursery staff and people around, but it was hard, you know. And I still had the other 2 elder daughters, and my mum, who lived in Birmingham at the time, she would pick the other 2 up from school, and I'd pick up Willow after work, make my way to my mum's house, and then we'd go home together. And that's what I did for ages. Yeah, I'm gonna follow up with the second part of this shortly.